Hello everybody, good morning and welcome to the United Stand. This is your latest Manchester United news and transfer news as 2 further deals to Jadon Sancho are apparently all but done. Plus, we've got a very exciting update from Gunnar Solskjaer, which could mean the end of McFred. What better way to start a Friday? It's like waking up with 10 crunchies. It's absolutely brilliant. If you know, crunchies Friday feeling. But we'll be talking about Ollie. We'll be talking about this as well. What we're not talking about at the moment is Jadon Sancho officially being a Manchester United player. Who knows? I tell you what, it's so quiet around this. And United are like this. They're quite frustrating. They're so up their own arse. Oh, look at us with our new kits and the Glazers in charge. And they get their social media start acting like there's something unique. You're owned by the Glazers. The Glazers tell you what to do. Stop acting all cool on social media every hour, putting out a different post like, oh, is it going to be Sancho? Is it isn't? You're still puppets of the Glazers, lads and ladies. So, stop acting all cool and get on with it. Right, let's get on with it. Let me just get rid of Tom. See you, Tom. There we go. Okay, just as well, can I just say as well, this morning we are sponsored, before I get into the show, we are sponsored by Boohooman again. I'm wearing some of their active range. It's hot out there. You can get 40% off with the code United Stand. Summer is in full swing and that means you need to dress to impress. And luckily, Boohooman has just released their awesome new Space Jam range exclusively on the Boohooman app. So whether you're a fan of Bugs Bunny, Daffy Duck or Tweety Pie, and I'm not talking about the Arsenal defence, Boohoo has you covered. Personally, my favourite was always Roadrunner, Dan James. The Space Jam range is exclusively to the Boohooman app, as I've said, so you'll need to make sure you download this by clicking the link below or searching for Boohooman in your device's app store. As always, because Boohooman love the United Stand viewers, they've given us an amazing 40% discount that you can use by clicking the link in the description and using the code United Stand at checkout. As always, thanks so much to Boohooman for supporting the channel. We really appreciate it. And they have that new exclusive Boohooman range. You could get yourself a Meet t-shirt. Maybe we should do one of those. But look, thanks to Boohooman. Links in the video description as always, and you can get 40% off there. Right, let's. I like the way they personalise their stuff for the show as well. It's a match made in heaven. Ramon Wayne, thank you very much for the joining the members club there. Scooby Doo was not anything to do with that. I don't know. Hanna-Barbera, I think, was Scooby Doo. Space Jam is Disney, isn't it? No, Space Jam's not Disney. What's Space Jam? Bugs Bunny's not. That's Warner Brothers, isn't it? We're getting into cartoons. Let's get into Manchester United. So, this story that we're going to start off with, and for me, the Ole Gunnar Solskjaer story is really interesting, if true, that he wants to change the formation, which will mean the end of Fred and McFred and more attacking football. But let's start off with this big news because it's interesting. This is interesting. We will be talking about Delo in a moment, Matic. Let me just say this. We are going to talk about a story that comes from the Sun newspaper. Boo, the Sun. Everyone hates the Sun, right? Okay, I get that. But I've always said this. There is a writer for the Sun who has been attached to Manchester United for a very long time, and his name is Neil Custis. And he is fairly credible about Manchester United news. He's been right in the past about things like Carrick, Rooney, Lukaku, whether they're players leaving, retiring, becoming captain, or actually signing. So he does have connections with the club. What those connections are like now, take it with a pinch of salt, because look, Dimarzio was brilliant 4 years ago, now he's not so good. What Neil Custis has said last night is that Manchester United are close to completing moves for both Raphael Varane and Kieran Trippier for 50 million and 18 million respectively. Both deals are all but done, with announcements expected towards the end of next week. That is quite a big statement, and the interesting thing about that is that when you put that sort of statement out, and I read that via MUFC MPB, so shout out for them, when you put that sort of statement out that both deals are all but done with announcements expected towards the end of next week, when we get to the end of next week and we haven't signed Varane and Trippier, then you pull that out and you go, well, that's credibility gone. So it's interesting. I mean, look, all I'm going to say is that when it comes to the Sun, I wouldn't normally wipe my arse on what they write. But if it is, there's only one journalist that I really would take notice of, and that's Neil Custis, because he's, very close to Manchester United. He's in the press conferences and that. So I think the interesting thing for me is, and Reeves says, I want to believe, but I'm wrong, but I'm scared. Griezmann, De Ligt, and some time ago, Ramos. Yeah, I get that. The thing is that with Varane, I can well believe towards the end of next week that we will make some heavy progress on this deal, because everything we're hearing, and I'm getting messages all over the place. You're now getting people who are jumping on it and going, oh, Varane wants to come. He's really impressed with United. And I'm not saying that those people are wrong. They're the sort of people who come in towards the end, the tap-in merchants. Everybody who's been talking about this for about 2 weeks has been saying, I mean, it was a week ago that Phil Brown at Malikins on Twitter said that he'd spoken to people close to this deal who said they'd be stunned if it didn't happen. That was a week ago. So people jumping on it now and going, oh, it really is really close. I'll be surprised if it doesn't happen. Well, we've been talking about this for over a week. So all that does to me, and I'm not knocking the tap-in merchants. Gary Lineker made a career out of it. So, no, I'm not talking about match of the day. I mean, someone who used to play football. So I've got no problem with the tap-in merchants, but it just fuels the fire that this deal is going to happen. So I think in relation to Varane, we're getting, I would go beyond 90% club. I'd go 95%, but whether you should ever go 95% or not, I don't know. But 90% definitely. Let's stick to 90%. That's our thing. 9 out of 10 chance that he signs for United, and I think he is going to sign for United. I don't see this being turned around now. But it's interesting that they're saying that Trippier is all but done as well, because what we're understanding is, and actually there's an update from Romano about Trippier, that if Delot goes, United will probably go for Trippier. But then ESPN, Rob Dawson is saying that Atletico Madrid are not going to move on the valuation that they've set for Trippier, which is over £30 million. So it's interesting that this story from Neil Custis is saying that United will get the deal done in the next week for Trippier for 18 million. So it's interesting. It's just very, very interesting around the fact that I think we can definitely say that Varane is going to happen. And if you've been watching this channel for the last 2 weeks, we've basically been saying that. I mean, when was I 70%? Probably 2 weeks ago. So we've been hot on the heels of this deal for a while. We've had Romano on a couple of times, and there's been some good sources that we've spoken about, like I said, Phil Brown and others, over the last sort of week and a half. So I'm very confident about the Varane deal, but what I'm interested in is this Trippier story. Are we going to get a big development on Trippier? And if we did get Trippier and we've got Sancho and we've got Varane, is that our business done for the summer? I suppose that would be what I would say, because as Besant says, what about a centre defensive midfielder? Well, I suppose the good thing is that if you get Varane, Sancho and Trippier in before the end of July, it still gives you another month to get a centre defensive midfielder in. But I'm not going to move on this one. I still believe that if this summer is to be a success, it's not going to be a success because we get Sancho, Varane and Trippier. I think they're all impressive signings, but you're still leaving a massive hole in the CDM position. Apparently Glazers are planning for all these signings holding up the shirt together, Mark. That's the deal, I guess. Thoughts, Mark, says Ramiz. I mean, look, I don't, just to quickly hop back on the Sancho thing, I think Sancho will be announced today because they've got everything to do it, and I don't see why they wouldn't do it. I really don't think there's much chance that we're going to wait until the start of August and get them all holding up the shirt. The reality is you'll sell more shirts if you got Sancho holding up the shirt today, Varane holding it up next Friday, and then a CDM holding it up in 2 weeks. So I don't think they'll sell more shirts by putting people together. Mark, do a show outlining credible journalists covering leagues and transfers in different countries. Many would appreciate such an overview, says Axel. But if you listen to the show, Axel, you get all that anyway, because we don't bring in crap outlets in here unless we're going to laugh at them. So I don't talk about the Daily Star or people like that because I personally don't trust their sources, and fair play to them, but they've never had an exclusive or a good story that I've gone, they're good. So the people we talk about are the people that, and we'll give their credibility. And like I said, I think in relation to Neil Custis, I know he writes for The Sun, and that will automatically make many of you go, oh, it's The Sun. But I'm telling you, he has been right about things over the years, and he has been close to United for years. I mean, he's the one that got into the argument with, was it Van Gaal, about fitness and stuff like that. We need a striker, 25 to 30 goals a season, says Harrison. Could the hold on to the Sancho announcement be due to negotiations with the Cavani over the number 7 jersey? Thanks for all you do, Mark, says James. I think that we will get Sancho today. I know I said that yesterday, but I think we will get Sancho today. I think United are trying to prove a point here with the Sancho unveiling that no one has inside knowledge of the club's dealing. What they don't realise is they're boring the tits off us and we've moved on, says Nick P. But the problem is, Nick, people do. United can act like that, and I don't think United are doing that, but United can act like they do have control of things and they don't leak, but they leak like a sieve. If you've got a sieve in your house, this is an experiment for you. If you've got a sieve in your house, the thing where you put your pasta in and it drains the water out, go to your tap with your sieve, turn the tap on, and see how much water you keep in there and how much leaks out. That is actually an analogy for Manchester United and information. They leak like a sieve, whether it's coaches, staff, players, friends of players, they leak. They do. And football in general leaks now, but Man United leak and they can't stop the leaks because there's too many people in that club and too many people in that club like to talk and then information comes out. So that we will know about the Sancho deal before. Somebody will know and they'll say it's happening in the next couple of hours. But at the moment, it's very quiet on Sancho. Do you think Sancho could keep number 17 and be unveiled tomorrow, says Mark Hughes? Mark, who knows? Who knows? I mean, I don't know why they're waiting, really. I think they're waiting because they're probably... my personal opinion, and I want to move on to what Ollie's saying about his formation because it's very exciting, the end of McFred. But I think that Man United are probably monitoring shirt sales. I don't know this, but my theory is the kit was released yesterday morning at 9 o'clock. Everybody knows if you run a shop, you can tell how many units you're selling. I would imagine United are selling a lot of shirts without announcing Sancho. 10 o'clock this morning, they tweeted about the shirt again. I think they're making a lot of money off shirt sales. So they're probably going, we don't need the Sancho boost at the moment. We are actually selling. So look, it's only a theory, but I think United released that shirt yesterday and the sales, because they can compare it to last year's shirt and the shirt before, I would imagine, unfortunately, there are a lot of United fans who will want to buy the shirt, and I would imagine that the shirt sales are peaking as high as they did last year. And that's probably beyond United's expectation. So I think United have said, let's keep putting the Sancho news back because we're making money off the shirts more than we thought we were. Let's put Sancho news out when the shirt sales start to dip. So that's just a theory. I don't know whether that's true or not, but I think the shirt sales are probably going better than they thought. So they don't need the Sancho boost yet. So you may as well ride the sales that are going well as long as possible and then put the Sancho thing out, which will bring another boost in sales. Plus as well, people are going to have to... Can you actually get number 7 Sancho on the back of your shirt at the moment? You know, people have got to go and pay for printing and stuff like that again. Do we need to credit the club because this season we're the only Premier League team making major moves in the market? Also, how true is Ollie shifting to a 4-3-3? Great question, Akshay. We're going to talk about that. And I think, and Nick P said that about... Nick P, we said that there. So we're going to talk about the 4-3-3. Do we need to give credit to Manchester United? No, because it's a marathon, not a sprint. And what if Chelsea go and get Declan Rice and Haaland in August before the start of the season? What if Man City go and get Grealish and Kane before the start of the season? We've only got Sancho at the moment. So let's not, this is the worst thing. This is an Arsenal thing to do, and Arsenal fans would admit this. Don't start celebrating in August just because you're top of the league. It's an alphabetical algorithm. The reality is we can't celebrate that we've had the best transfer window yet because we don't know. Chelsea and Man City to me are better teams than us with better squads. If we get Sancho, Varane and Trippier, but Man City get Grealish and Kane and Chelsea get Rice and Haaland, they've had a better window than us because they've already got a better squad. So we've got to be a little bit careful in relation to that. But let me bring you this story about Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. It's really interesting. In fact, talking about sieves, here's a bit of leaked information. So this is coming from Rob Dawson, who's a journalist, and he's saying that players who are back in training have been told by Solskjaer that they're going to change to a more attacking 4-3-3 system this year, which would mean the end of McFred. Now, this is the sort of leak I can get on with. I don't want to call a plumber. I want that leak to shower all over me. I'm really happy about this leak if it's true. But with anything, what I would say is ESPN, Rob Dawson, said that Atletico Madrid will not sell Trippier for any less than 30 million. And then you've got Neil Custis saying he's coming to us for 18 million. So if Custis is right and Dawson's wrong, maybe Dawson's wrong on the 4-3-3 as well. So, Dawson's Creek, he'll be up the shit creek, wouldn't he? We'll have to wait and see. But if we are moving to golden shower, Matthew, why have you gone from a leak, and I want to stand under that leak, to a golden shower? Bloody hell, it's only 10 o'clock in the morning. But yeah, so what they're basically saying is that Manchester United are going to move, and apparently this is from the training ground, because obviously we've got players training at the moment, and some of those players definitely are leaking information. The 4-3-3 with basically one holding midfielder, and the premise of this would be that we would play one holding midfielder and then you would play Bruno with Pogba or Van der Beek. This is the story, really. Ollie wants to play more of his attacking players. Therefore, he's going to have a front three, and he wants to play Bruno and Pogba or Bruno and Van der Beek, which means he's got to get rid of McFred, which for me is very, very good news, like I say. So I hope there's something in this. I suppose it fits into what we spoke about a lot last season, is that, and we saw glimpses of it with Eric Bailly. When you play Lindelof and Maguire, I do like Lindelof, but tell me I'm wrong when I say we had to protect Lindelof. Wan-Bissaka was tucking in a lot. McTominay and Fred were staying back a lot. And people say, well, it's not just Lindelof's fault, it's Maguire's fault as well. Well, we'll find that out next season. But the reality is, Lindelof got bullied a lot last season. You think about that goal we conceded against West Brom, and there was many more. Lindelof got bullied. If you bring Varane in and you put him next to Maguire, that basically pushes your line higher. And it almost puts you in a stage where United were with the likes of Rio and Ferdinand and that, where you say, look, go forward, we're good enough as two centre-backs to deal with this. We don't need McFred. So that, to me, would be very interesting if we do that. In my opinion, Ollie should go before De Gea or Pogba. We're going to have a Ferrari of a team next season, getting a proper driver that can utilise them, says Julian. Hi, Mark. People are ignoring the fact that regardless of any transfers we make, Ollie will never compete with Jurgen, Pep or Tuchel. We can't win the league with Ollie, says MK. I asked yesterday if we could use one CDM because of Varane coming into the team, trusting the defence, is Rory Saunders. Good point. And I think we can. I think we can do that. And I'm not ignoring those Ollie points, by the way. Remind me to come back on Ollie. I will come back on that because they're fair points and I want to talk about that, so I've wrote that down. But let's just exhaust this conversation. So I think with Varane and Maguire, they can both allow McFred to rest in peace and one of them can play in front of them. The issue is, I think we all know that we can play Bruno and Van der Beek or Bruno and Pogba and one holding midfielder. The question is, who would be the holding midfielder? Who would it be? Would you have McTominay do it on his own? I don't think he can do it. I'd love to be proved wrong, but I don't think McTominay's a holding midfielder. I certainly, even if you did play him there, I don't think he could do the job for Newcastle, let alone United. Is Fred a holding midfielder? I don't trust his first touch. I think the ball bounces off him like a brick wall too much, so I don't think he can do it. Can Matic do it? He's the best one we've got, but I think he's too old. And if he isn't too old, why didn't we... imagine if we started using Matic every game next season as a CDM. My first thing would be, why didn't we use him last year? So I don't think we've got a CDM to do what Ollie wants to do. That's the scary thing. I don't think we have a CDM to sit in front of the back four and do that job. That's my problem. I think he will try and use Fred or McTominay, but I don't think they can do the job for different reasons, which is why I think we had to play them together last year, because he didn't trust either of them to do it on their own. After Sancho, if we get Varane, Trippier and a CDM, imagine the pressure on Ollie, says Bradley. And Ollie wants to revert to an attacking 4-3-3, but it's pointless without a specialist CDM, says Ami. We need to take the initiative for Rice that forces him to make a decision regardless of Chelsea interest. Well, Ami, I mean, you've hit the nail on the head there. I think that my worry is, and I don't think Garner's ready. I think anybody who talks about Garner is an idiot, basically. You're a nice idiot, but you're not dropping James Garner into the CDM role to run the midfield for Manchester United at his age off half a season for Nottingham Forest. It's just not going to happen. There's just no way you can do that. He's a good player, but you can't do that. It's ridiculously irresponsible, and Ollie would never do it. So that would never happen. Will we compete for the title with signing Varane and Sancho this window, says Babaf. Why are people saying Telles CDM? It makes no sense. With Dion. Well, let me just say this. I absolutely am on board with United playing a 4-3-3, which Ollie played when he first came into the club, and he played it at the end of the season after COVID came back a year ago. Matic, Pogba, Bruno. I want to see that again, but we don't have Matic anymore. Don't think McTominay can do it. Don't think Fred can do it. Garner's not ready to do it. You've got to buy somebody to do it. If you buy somebody to do it, you've got to get somebody who can do it. Now, look, ideally, if you add Ndidi into that team, or a Declan Rice, or a specialist CDM, you're set. Let's go. You put a CDM in front of Calvin Phillips. You put a CDM in front of Varane and Maguire, and it can be Calvin Phillips. I don't mind. He'd be better than McTominay and Fred. If you put him in that position, then you can play Bruno and Pogba as more advanced with Donny as well if you want to rotate. But we've got to get the CDM to do it. And I think Trippier's a good backup. I think Varane's a very good centre-back. I think Sancho's a very good right winger. But we've got to get the CDM. And it's ridiculous that we're hearing about this change of formation, but we haven't got the most important piece for it. if you're going to play one holding midfielder instead of two, you better have a bloody good holding midfielder, and we don't have it. So, it brings joy to my face that we could go to this formation, and there's rumours of it happening this morning. But who's the CDM? We haven't got one. And anybody who starts saying, let's play Lindelof there, let's play Wan-Bissaka there, let's play Alex Telles there, you're talking, your ass is talking, because they're not CDMs. We actually had somebody that half could do it in Daley Blind, and even he wasn't able to do it. You can't just turn somebody from a fullback into a CDM. We haven't got Kimmich and we haven't got Fabinho. Like they are elite footballers who can play CDM as well as they can do fullback. I don't think we've got anybody that can do this, and I think we need to buy somebody. All forgetting Leicester are making moves in depth, says Reedy. Leicester are having a good transfer market. Yeah, they are. I'd have Fred as the holder. I do agree with him having the first touch of a trampoline, but he's probably the best we've got. McTominay's box to box, says Sam. I agree with you, Sam. I think Fred is the best. Mark, please send prayers to South Africa from the United Stand. We are suffering, says Mikael Roach. Yeah, prayers to South Africa. I can't believe it's still going on over there, and hopefully they can get to grips with it soon, because innocent people are suffering as ever. So prayers to South Africa, yeah. Vader is dead, says, can we trust Ollie if he's not looking at a CDM? And Mark, why can't we find a cheap CDM who can do the job? We don't always need to look at £50 million players. Basuma, Zakaria, there are players out there that we can go and get, and there are players that we do need to go and get. Can I just say, though, there's a lot of people this morning, and I don't disagree with you, there's a lot of people this morning who are saying Ole Gunnar Solskjaer should not be the lace your boots up, Mark. You could be our CDM, mate. I'd love to. I'd bloody love to do it, but I'm not going to get the job. But a lot of people this morning are quite rightly saying the problem we've got is that we're building a Ferrari, but we've got Mrs. Doubtfire driving it in Ollie. And we need a proper driver for this Ferrari, because you can bring all these great players in, but if they're not good enough, they're not good enough. What I would say about Ollie, and we've got a Camavinga update, I've just seen it on MUFC MPB as well. What I would say about Ollie is that I don't disagree with people who say he's not the right driver for the car. I don't disagree with that, but he has to be given this opportunity. And the thing that excites me, and I'm happy that, it's all about opinion. We all go to bed at night, we all wake up in the morning, we all have our own opinion, and we can all listen to opinion, and I think that's very important that you do that. But you must always forge your own opinion, and if you're Ollie in or Ollie out or Ollie out, that's down to you, and I respect that. I mean, that's what it's all about. For me, I said at the end of the season, and I was very disappointed after we lost the Europa League, and I think a lot of that was on Ollie. I think his tactics, his changes, and his reliance on favourites was abysmal at times. But I did say, because he came second in the league, he must be given this season. And he will be given this season. And the thing that excites me the most is that we have got a manager who has been given, on the face of it, backing. Now, we're not quite there, because Varane's not a United player yet, and who else are we going to bring in? But I do want to say that he will either sink or swim this season, and he should swim. He should swim with a match. Look, if Gareth Southgate can get to a Euros final, then Ole Gunnar Solskjaer can get us in a title challenge. Because I don't rate Southgate. I know everyone likes Southgate, this, that, and the other. I thought his football was boring. I thought he was pragmatic. I thought he was, he grinded his way through with some of the best attacking talent England's got. So I think there is no excuse for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer to fail. If he can take us to second with McFred, what's he going to do with and Lindelof, Magaluf? Then what can he do with Sancho in the team, with a Varane in the team? And look, where's the CDM? So I don't disagree with people who want to be Ollie out or Ollie out. I'm an Ollie doubter, but I am Ollie in. And I think this season could be a really exciting season. I'm optimistic about this season. So nobody's letting Ollie off the hook, but you can't sack Ollie now just because Zidane and Conte is available. He deserves the opportunity of this season. But what I would say is he's got to deliver. There's no excuses. Even if we'd bought nobody, you've still got to go up from second place. So he has had and is going to get some fantastic players, which means there's no excuses. We've got to challenge. Next season for me, if we get Varane and a couple of others, is we've got to challenge for a title. We can't be happy with being comfortable top four. We've got to challenge for a title. That's what we demand. There's an update here coming in from Le 10 Sport. They're saying that Manchester United, Arsenal and PSG are interested in Camavinga. However, all need to sell first. Nothing will happen in July. It is not possible that Camavinga goes into arm wrestling with Rennes. There's a determination to leave. That's interesting. They've all got to sell first. And I would expect that this is to do with Lingard for Manchester United, to be honest with you. I think that the absence of Lingard in the shirts and everything like that does lead me to believe that maybe there is something to do with that there. We've also been linked by Laurence Julien's, who I think is ESPN, saying that United have joined the race for Hussam Aouar, monitoring his situation. I don't know. An offer of 25 million could be enough to sign Aouar. I mean, he's not a centre defensive midfielder, Aouar, is he? He's more of a box-to-box player. So that, to me, wouldn't make a massive amount of sense. But we will see how that works out. Also got some return dates for you as well. I just wanted to give you an update, because it's not always all about transfers. I do want to tell you all when players are coming back. But what do you think about Lingard Trippier swap deal, says Imran? I've heard it a few times. I've heard a few times about a swap deal for Lingard and Trippier. I just, as I said to Ricky on the show last night, Ricky said it as well. Do you think Atletico Madrid would want Lingard? Well, I don't know. I think we're being a little bit unfair. I mean, Lingard's a good player. I just don't know whether Lingard would want to go to Spain. I don't know. Maybe he would, maybe he wouldn't. I think Lingard would probably rather stay in the Prem because he wants to get back in the England team. Thanks for the contribution there from James Breen. Opinion on Ollie if we get top four with all the transfer targets, stay or go? Well, I think the club would keep him, Bradley, but I think if we finish fourth next season, he's got to go. I don't think there's an excuse to drop down from second if we get Sancho, Varane and a couple of others. Have heard of the Lingard for Trippier rumour. I don't actually like that, says Tabraz. Don't forget, sign for United.org. Glazers out, prayers for South Africa and Germany, says Tabraz. Lovely message there. Thank you very much. Thank you. Arsenal will buy good players. They always do, Al. It's just they never seem to do anything with them. I wouldn't be surprised if Aouar went there. I do like Aouar, and I'm probably announcing his name completely wrong. I do like Aouar, however you pronounce it, but he's not a holding midfielder. He would play in the sort of Pogba role or the Van der Beek role. So it's a bit like buying Renato Sanchez. Renato Sanchez isn't a holding midfielder either. There's plenty of good midfielders out there, but we need a centre defensive midfielder. These Ollie outers and doubters do have a point, but this United team excites me more than it did under Van Gaal and Mourinho. I have more hope going into games, says Ramis. I think the positive thing for me, Ramis, next season, and look, we won't know until the proof is in the pudding, but the thing that really gets me excited about next season is that the thing that frustrated me last year was Magaluf and McFred. I couldn't stand Maguire and Lindelof together because it forced us to play McFred. And I think with Maguire, if we get Varane, that means we're going to be stronger at the back and it means we can play a higher line, which means we don't need McFred. And if you don't play McFred, you can play a more attacking midfielder. So these things excite me compared to last year because I think at times we played very Southgate England football, pragmatic, don't concede many, score and nick a goal here and there. So I think that I'm excited about next season if we get the players we're looking at because we should play a more attacking style of football. Do you think Bruno could play in a 4-3-3 after his performance in the Euros? He looked lost in Portugal's 4-3-3, says Jamal McFarlane. Hey, mate, at the moment, Jamal, it's very, very... And I know you're not doing it, but it's very fashionable to attack Bruno. I find it hilarious. Again, it's all about opinion. You've got, the world we live in, you've got to have opinion. That's what it's all about. But I find the attack on Bruno is nothing to do with football. I think there is a sinister, deeper level to people who don't like Bruno. And I can't quite put my finger on what it is. Is it simply that they're just so Pogba FC that they don't like anybody that sort of takes Pogba's, exposure? Which I find ridiculous because they both like each other and I think they play better together. It's taken a sinister turn with Bruno. I don't like it. And I've seen it with Pogba as well. And I've seen it with De Gea. And I've seen it with Martial. Where players start getting targeted despite the fact that they're one of our best players. And, the fact with Bruno is look at United without Bruno. We were shite. We just lost to Burnley. We were absolutely shit. Since Bruno's come in, this team has gone from not getting in the top 4 to 3rd to 2nd. So we are a better team with Bruno. Nobody can argue that. Yeah, he can be a bit wasteful at times, and definitely since Christmas he's dropped off, but I think that was exhaustion, and I think it was exhaustion in the Euros. I think we're going to see the proper Bruno back again. But what is undisputable is that the difference with Bruno in a United shirt and the difference with United without Bruno is night and day. We've seen the light. We've become a more consistent side with Bruno in it. Now that'll be down to his leadership, his contributions, lots and lots of things. I think other players have become better with Bruno in the team. I think Pogba's gone up a level, like he does for France, because he's got a better player with him. I don't get the Bruno thing. I don't know what the end game is with the Bruno thing, because if you take Bruno out that team, we will drop. We will drop again, and we will be fighting for 5th. He is the player that has taken us to that next level. The reason he gets likened to Cantona, and he's not a Cantona, he's a B-Tech Cantona, because Cantona took us to Premier League titles. Maybe Bruno can do that, but he definitely took us from a team that was fighting for 5th to a team that's comfortably in the top 3. So I don't get the Bruno thing. Hi Mark, I'm sorry to bug you, but what's the news for today? Is Varane done? Maybe go back to the start of the show, Panache. I'll summarise this at the end, but we're sort of halfway through a show at the moment. Mark, I believe we should judge Ollie on his attributes, not where he finished in the league. We all watched last season and our position was not justified. Too many last-minute winners, etc. Ollie's lucky. MK, what I would say to that is, he was lucky a lot. He's been lucky for 3 years. I don't think luck lasts for 3 years. But what I would say is, next season, just a little bit of patience. You've only got another month. Next season, you will get your answer. Because if he's lucky, he's going to run out of luck, isn't he? Hi, Mark. Do you know they've removed Cavani's number 7 shirts from the United website? Great show as always. Well, I have been told, Paul Shakespeare, for a very long time that Sancho is our number 7. Before Ollie out, we need to know what Ollie steadied the ship, got rid of the deadwood. He's slowly building a team. Also, Zidane is probably going nowhere in a year as such. Has to be given this year, says Akshay. Got to be a title challenging side this year with Ollie. Got to be a title challenging side. 3rd, 2nd, let's challenge for 1st. Goldie McFred ending is better than signing a CDM. Varane, Sancho and no more McFred. Best mate Doug is a prat, says Mike John. And welcome to the members club, Robert Crane. So let's give that little bit of a summary. The news is that Manchester United are very close to Varane, which is what we've known for a while. But also, apparently, a Trippier deal is all but done. This is coming from The Sun, but it's coming from Neil Custis, who is quite credible around Manchester United. And he's saying by the end of next week, both deals could be done. So we'll have to wait and see what happens over the next week. I mean, I'm not opposed to buying Kieran Trippier. I just don't want to spend £20 million on a backup right back and not get a CDM. This summer for me, and everyone's going to have their own thoughts, this summer for me is defined by whether we bring a centre defensive midfielder in. We've also got a story this morning that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer wants to go to a more attacking 4-3-3, get rid of McFred and have one holding midfielder. It's great to get rid of McFred, but what if that one holding midfielder is Fred or McTominay on their own? They ain't good enough to do that job. We need to buy a centre defensive midfielder. And this summer for me, look, we could buy Ronaldo. We've got Sancho. We can get Varane. We can get Trippier. If we don't buy a CDM, I still think we're going into next season with a leaking ship. And if you've got a leak, you might sink. So if we get a CDM in, I'm like, this summer is as good as it can be. We've still got 6 weeks. I want to see a CDM. It's the most important position. We can't ignore it just because we've got Sancho and maybe Varane. Would you take Kante or Kimmich? Oh, Yazza. Would a bear shit in the woods? Yes, it would. It's funny when people say we can't win with Ollie and he can't compete with Pep, Klopp, etc. It seems he's beaten Pep and Tuchel more than losing. He needs to work on things, but potential is there, says James. Good point. I think Trippier is too far off the pace, but we have a very strong foot for Camavinga. Looking into third main choice, Barcelona just do not have the funds, hence why Messi is on a lower pay. Apollo. I don't know why we don't just put a bid in for Camavinga. 30 million quid. We've got that 30 million quid. We can afford that. DK says, my last 2 missed super chats summarised any new Ollie on contract. I think Ollie will get his new contract, DK, once, anytime in the next 3 weeks, really. They'll announce that. Probably when everyone's feeling positive, just before the new season. Joseph says, Bruno has been fantastic. Even when he has a poor game, he scores or gets an assist. Ollie overplayed him. He needed a rest, but overall super player. And welcome to the Members Club, Christopher Palmer. Thank you for joining. You've got your little badge next to your name, like Robert Crane has there. And welcome to Match, who's got a little badge next to his name as well. You can click the join button to become a member if you want to. Keo says, can you tell us the return date? So this is really interesting. We have got... Remember on Sunday we're doing a watch along at 1 o'clock because we've got a preview game, pre-season game. We're playing... Who are we playing on Sunday? Brentford at 1 o'clock Sunday. We'll have a watch along for you and match reaction and player rating. So excited about that. But just to bring you up to date, these are the return dates for Manchester United players. Everybody is apparently fit, apart from Donny van der Beek, who has still got a groin injury. So he's not back training yet. Donny's not back in training yet. And we don't know when he's going to be back. So Donny van der Beek is injured. I think Lingard and Martial have been isolating because they were in Greece on holiday. So I think they should be back training, but I don't know whether they are because we've not seen any pictures of them. But this is the rundown in order of who should be back when. So Scott McTominay apparently should be back. He was meant to be back on July the 14th. So Scott McTominay should be back. On the 19th, which is going to be early next week, you've got Pogba, Bruno, Dalot and Reece James. They should all be back because they've been out of the Euros. Well, it's 3 weeks, isn't it? So Dalot, Dan James, Fernandes, Pogba should be back early next week. As should Victor Lindelof. So he should be back early next week as well. After that, Cavani the following week will be back, and so will David De Gea, so around the July the 27th. And then midweek after that, back end of the month, you've got Fred back around July the 1st. And then you've got Sancho, Shaw, Maguire back August the 1st, so right at the start of August. Bailly and Ahmad are going to be in the Olympics, so they won't be back until like mid-August, August the 18th to the 28th. So they might not be back until the very end of the month. And obviously Marcus Rashford's not going to be back until around sort of October time with his injury. So I think that covers virtually all of our players and when they're going to be back. So in effect, over the next, in 2 weeks' time, the English lads will be back. Everybody will be back. So there you go. It's not Reece James, it's Dan James. I wish it was Reece James. I'd rather have him. Nobody has been given as many chances as Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, says Tabris. And hi Mark, how you doing? What is happening about Ronaldo? Not heard of anything for a few days. Says Robert Crane. Thank you very much for that. It's Derby on Sunday, not Brentford. Sorry about that. It's Derby on Brentford. Okay. Derby County. Okay. I can live with Fred or Scotty's defence, but their ball progression is too bad, says Asif. I think that's a good point as well. There's a lot of people saying that we could play Scott McTominay or Fred as a lone holding midfielder. Well, we can do, but if you think about what I was talking about yesterday about Jorginho, if Jorginho was playing as our holding midfielder, we'd be fine because he'd take the ball off Magaluf and Varane, presuming we get Varane, and then he'd feed the ball to Bruno and Pogba, and he'd do it very effectively. But if you've got Fred or McTominay, can they get that ball and pass that ball quick enough? Fred's passing I don't trust, and McTominay likes to do that little pivot and pass it sideways. So we've got to buy a centre defensive midfielder who can run the game. That's what we need to do. And I just don't know what the plan is to do that or not. So we'll have to wait and see. Okay, this is a little bit controversial, says Stephen Atkinson. We're all ears. But would you give Fred a start in the holding role on his current form, especially after his Copa form, says Stephen Atkinson? Well, I don't pay too much attention to the internationals. I think you've got to do it in a Man United shirt to start off with. I also didn't really watch Copa America, but I was told that Casemiro was playing with him. So Casemiro is more of a defensive player. So I doubt Fred was holding the midfield on his own. So yeah, I don't think that was the case. But look, I think Fred has got the best. If Matic is finished, and I think Matic is finished, and you're not going to buy anybody, I think that the best option that we've got is is Fred. But Fred's first touch is a bit questionable, and his passing is questionable. His tenacity in tackling is very, very good. But I don't know whether he's got the ball skills to do it. I think we need to buy somebody. I think United need to buy somebody. And we continually hear that we are linked with wanting a midfielder. So I suspect Solskjaer wants a midfielder. I just think he's prioritised it low. I think that effectively, if you were to ask me the question, why have we not bought a centre defensive midfielder when we need a centre defensive midfielder? I think the answer to that question is he prioritised Sancho as number one. He prioritised the centre back as number two, and he wants a backup right back. And I think he does want a centre defensive midfielder, but I don't think it was as high as the Sancho, Varane and Trippier deals. For me, it should have been nestled in with the centre back as a priority, even more so than Sancho. But Sancho is a fantastic player, and he's the marquee player that we wanted last year. But I personally came into this summer transfer window with centre back and CDM as the most important positions, and that's where the money should have been spent. But United, they like a marquee signing, and Sancho's a fantastic player. Let's get Ruben Neves, and if Pogba leaves, Aouar, says Shravan. Yeah, we still don't know what's going to happen with Pogba, do we? Would you start Sancho left, Cavani up front and Greenwood right, or Martial left, Cavani up front and Sancho right for a big game? I'm not actually that bothered between those three. As long as it's not Pogba on the right or left, I'm not actually that bothered. And I think, let the games commence. I don't mind if we put Sancho on the left and Greenwood on the right, or we put Sancho on the right and Martial on the left. Personally, I'd put Sancho on the right and Martial on the left, because I think long-term, Wan-Bissaka needs to get used to playing with Sancho. And Martial and Shaw have played together. So I would probably do that. Ollie wanted a striker, Mark. That says everything, says Tabret. Well, yeah, he did want a striker, you're right. And welcome to the Members Club, Albino. Thank you very much for joining there. Depth is good, but at what cost? He doesn't sub anyway, says Nathaniel. McTominay will always play whoever the manager is, says Robert McCormack. Yeah, I think McTominay will be the holding midfielder next year. I really do. I think that's the plan. For me, and I don't know whether anyone else has noticed this or thinks this, I think United have been banging the drum that McTominay is the new Carrick or Fletcher for a long time. I think they think he's the new Carrick. I hope he is the new Carrick. But at 25 in December and been in this club around the first team for 4 years, I've never seen any Carrick-esque traits. I don't think he reads the game particularly well, and I don't think his passing range is anywhere near Carrick. I think he's a box-to-box player. I think McTominay's best attributes. I think McTominay is more of a Paul Scholes than a Carrick, and I'm talking about breaking into the box, shots from the edge of the box. And look, comparing McTominay to Scholes is like comparing a Ferrari to a go-kart, but I don't think McTominay is a holding midfielder, and I certainly don't think he's the next Michael Carrick. It could happen. But I don't see it. I think he's a box to box player. I don't think he's a holding player. And I think United need a CDM. A CDM. That's what I think. But there you go. Thanks everyone for watching. Make sure you smash a like on the video and subscribe bottom right hand corner. I think at some point we are going to see Sancho unveiled today. At the moment, I'm thinking 5 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, rock. I don't know when it's going to happen, but it could be 11 o'clock. It could be in 5 minutes. I don't actually know, but let's wait and see what happens with it, because it's going to be very, very interesting. There is another update from Le 10 Sport. They're saying that Manchester United are preparing for the possible departure of Paul Pogba. PSG's interest is growing, with Mino Raiola trying to advance talks, and Aouar is one of the options United are looking at to replace him. Lyon want 20 to 25 million euros, which is ridiculously cheap. Yeah, it'd be interesting. Look, it's not breaking news, is it? I mean, Aouar with Manchester United would be very interesting, but I think that I think Pogba's future is yet to be written, really. Thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe bottom right hand corner so you've got your notifications when we go live. Take care everyone, have a good day, and I'll speak to you all in a little bit. And thanks to Boohoo Man for sponsoring the show. Links in the video description. Check out their new Space Jam range, Meep Meep. Also, you can get 40% off through the link in the video description. Get yourself looking good for these hot days this summer. Thanks for watching. Thanks to Boohoo Man, and thank you to you, of course.